Hey guys, it's Gojira here. Welcome to my first battle replay of Call of Warhammer Beginning of the End Times 1.5 beta. Um, you may have seen me around Indie Pride's channel. I've been playing a little Call of Warhammer and Total War Warhammer with him for a while. I love playing Call of Warhammer and I love playing Total War Warhammer. I love the aesthetic and the lore of Warhammer universe, although some of it's kind of wonky. It's still a really fun and interesting universe to expand upon. So this is going to be a 1v1, Ogres versus Chaos Dwarfs, and it's a pretty exciting one. I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get right into the army compositions. So first, we're going to go over mine. I have 4 units of Noblars. They are a very shitty infantry unit. What you use them to do is they have these little nets that can stun infantry, and they have lots of numbers. So what you do is you meat shield the crap out of with them. So you can absorb charges, take fire from missile units. They're very handy little throwaway units. Now we have Iron Guts, which are just the best of the Ogre infantry. They have just the superior stats to any other Ogre melee infantry in the game. So in the middle, we have a standard unit of Ogres and a mercenary Goldfag Man-Eaters unit. This is basically like a regiment of renown because they're kind of like a mercenary unit of a legendary character. So the next are backing up those two lines are the Hunters. So Ogre Hunters are a very versatile unit because they have a crossbow that can pierce multiple lines of infantry, and to top that off, they don't have bad melee stats at all, and they're ogres, so they have high mass, so they can just run through stuff and crush infantry and deal pretty nice damage to cavalry as well if you get a countercharge. Next, rounding off my army of these 2 units right here, which are Sabertusks, like cavalry. They act as chaos warhounds, I suppose. They're a small unit. They resemble like the dire wolves. They're really fast, really high charge, but not much staying power. You kind of use them for getting at skirmishers, artillery pieces, rear charging, stuff like that. And then the core, the backbone of my army, you could say, is these lead belchers, or maybe the fist of my army, you could say, is the lead belchers, because they really pack the punch. They're the killing power of the ogres. Now, you can bring more than one lead belcher. It will cost you a lot of money, but you can bring more than one. I only brought one, and you'll see how devastating they can be when they are not dealt with. Okay, let's quickly go over. I spent a little too much time on that composition. We're getting a little bit of lag here. Okay, so my opponent, Consul of Micronesia, is commanding the Chaos Dwarfs. He has 5 units of goblins. It's only showing 4 right now, but there is a hidden one in the grass somewhere. And his front line of gunpowder units, he's brought Infernal Guard with Fire Glaives, who are currently taunting us right now, and a 1 Chaos Dwarf Blunderbuss. So the Blunderbusses are very effective at killing big, large blobs of infantry, and they can deal very high HP damage, so it's pretty good against ogres, although their shots are kind of wild, so you have to be careful if you're blobbing up against your opponent and you get these guys at a weird angle. You can just shred the hell out of your own units, so you gotta be very careful with those. Infernal Guard with Fire Glaives. So these guys are very strong missile units. Not only do they deal really good damage and set people alight with their fire, but they are the tankiest missile infantry in the game. Like, there's no question that these guys could double for, like, a Chaos Dwarf Warrior, but with fiery, rifles. So they're very good at have very much staying power, so they can tank it out in any kind of fight, whether it be a long range fight or a close quarters fight. So took a little too much time on those. We have 4 Chaos Warriors. They're just kind of standard dwarf infantry. Infernal Guard regular versions, they're just beefed up melee stat versions of Infernal Guard with Fire Glaives. They have no Fire Glaives, but they have a shield, so they have a little more missile block chance, and they're very tanky. Both of the Infernal Guard units also have 2 HP, so that makes them extra tanky, if you will. Hobgoblin Archers, they're an interesting choice. They are pretty much a meat shield with a little extra versatility, as in they can shoot, in late game situations, I suppose, or just harass stuff. But they're really good at being meat shields, is pretty much just like the goblins. So Chaos Ogres, these are very good at getting to enemy skirmishers, because you can charge through them. They're good at countering cav, because their mass is larger than cav. They are very tanky, and they can charge into pretty much anything and not die instantly. Same with the Black Orcs on a little lesser scale. They're not as tanky, but they do have 2 HP. The Ogres have about 6 or 7. I think Ogres have about 7. Black Orc Destroyers, though, have a very high charge bonus and a very high attack rating, so they can deal a lot of damage in a short amount of time, but they don't have a lot of staying power relative to the rest of the elite units on the field here. So he also has 2 death rockets that are about to open up, and let's jump into the battle. Okay, well, we're going to put it on 2 times real fast because I kind of started out in a little late position. So we're going to move our Noblars up here. We're going to move them to the side we're going to do like almost an L kind of flanking maneuver. And, the reasoning with that was I was just going to move up these Noblars and move them up to just get in the way of the line of sight of these gunpowder units. And I was supposed to hold a Iron Guts probably even closer here, so I could bait charges and maybe countercharge some stuff, which you'll see in a bit. My bad, guys. Noblars are just chilling here. It is kind of funky moving Ogres with Noblars because Ogres are like 10 times faster than Noblars, and Noblars just get in their way. And so he's opening up. Surprisingly, his death rockets are not hitting anyone. They're getting very close, but they're not hitting a single Ogre. They will hit, well, they might hit some Ogres later, but it's very surprising because they are not usually inaccurate. They are very sharpshooter kind of. They're almost mortar-like. They fire, and they fire pretty fast, so they're a decent artillery unit all around. But this battle, they've just been missing these Ogre Hunters and Iron Guts. So I'm bringing up my Lead Belchers, and they are uncontested right now. He's not doing anything to stop them, and they're in range of his Chaos Dwarf Blunderbuss, and holy crap, these Chaos Dwarf Blunderbuss will just get wrecked. He is bringing up some Chaos Ogres to charge into these Noblars. Now this is a legit strategy if you can route these Noblars fast. There's otherwise, he's bringing in these other units, so he's trying to crumble this flank real fast so he can maybe hook around or something like that. But he's putting a lot of stuff into this one Noblar, and he could definitely be using these high damage units over here. If he can finish up this flank fast, it may be worth it for him. We'll see how that pans out. See, my Iron Guts are now getting a counter charge. Let's turn this down a little bit. And we are getting in melee. You see, the counter charge really helps because he already charged all of his units. And you can pull through with Chaos Ogres, by the way. So I could have pulled through and charged my Iron Guts through there, but I think he just lost micro right there. He has some goblins ready. They could it says ready. They could ooh, I think I just missed that, but there's another shot to come that's even more beautiful than that. My Lead Belchers are firing in. He should have some goblins trying to tie them up, but I'm going to throw my Noblars in there, little goblin on goblin violence. My Man-Eaters should be coming around the flank, and my Saber Tusks should be somewhere around here. They're either in the flank. Yeah, Saber Tusks, just flank charge them. They should be coming around the flank pretty soon. So he is doing all right. tying up my lead belchers, but the thing is, he hasn't been like focusing his fire on these lead belchers. You know, these lead belchers have not been the focus of his fire, and the thing is, ogres are very, you know, tough, but they have some pretty hard counters. So, for example, gunpowder will shriek ogre lead belchers. They'll do considerable damage to regular ogre units too. But let's see here. We're taking the iron guts around. Let's get back real fast to see this shot, because there's a pretty magnificent shot that my lead belchers get. So he's not doing anything to contest these guys right now. And when you don't contest lead belchers, this is what you goddamn get. So by leaving these lead belchers alone and not consistently, like, you know, surrounding them with those goblins, he was attacking with the goblins, but he didn't move them through. They were just like piecemeal coming at them, so it was easy to shoot them to shreds, you know. Now it's going to be the battle of the ogres out here. I lose micro on this iron guts. It should be charging. It is not. These saber tusks should also be running towards these death rockets, because as you will see in a little bit later in the battle, he actually does. Yeah, he's taken out some units, you know. Now it's not a lot, but it is. Yeah, you'll see later in the battle he actually does significant damage to my iron guards as well. Now this is where it gets dangerous. So he has a bunch of infernal guard that he dedicated over here, and I'm just not cycle charging with these man eaters and these ogres, so they're gonna get stun locked, and they're gonna get murdered. Because infernal guard are very good units. Now obviously my ogres will take a while to kill because of their high HP and high defense skill, but they're not going to win that fight. That's too many men. And this is one of the weaknesses of the ogres, is that they can get outnumbered very, very quickly. And if you outnumber them and encase them, so when they try to run away, they'll just get stun locked, because they only get a large amount of mass when they're either like momentum, like, so when they're charging, pretty much. If they have the charge animation up, they can pretty much go through anything. So here we go. We have ogre on ogre violence again, I believe. Yeah. Oh, okay. There's a juicy shot. I took down at least three of my iron guts. So I really need to get my saber tusks in gear. Yeah. So this fight's going on. This fight's actually going in my favor, because I think those chaos dwarf warriors were depleted, even though I didn't get a charge. I may have cycle charged, but I don't believe I did. I just took these hunters into melee because, like I said, they're multi-use. I mean, after you get enough shots with them, you might as well just engage them if it's going to be, you know, quicker. And he has yet to turn around to fire. See, these guys are still, they're facing this way. They haven't once looked at the lead belchers, and that's a big deal, because the lead belchers are the punching power of any ogre army. I'm cycle charging in these iron guts into the infernal guard and blob of dwarf warriors plus goblins. The reason I'm doing this is because I need to keep this blob in place whilst the rest of my army gets here, and I need to keep them from also surrounding you know, these man eaters and killing them. But it actually doesn't stop them from killing the man eaters, but it prolongs their death a little bit, so I can keep that engagement lasting a little longer before they come and fight in another area, to aid their goblins and fire glaives. Here's my gen. They just killed a rocket battery, so the artillery didn't really do that much this battle. They killed a few hunters, but they were unfortunately very uncost effective. They really did not pay for themselves at all. Looks like I'm getting a little throat tank here. He's chasing like with melee, so this is an interesting choice. I'm hoping he has no ammo, because you'd really want to fire in with these guys, especially when they're just running around and I don't have as much of my meat shields left. You definitely want to be firing into these lead belchers at this point. I mean, it's already almost a downward spiral, but you still have you know, Chaos Dwarf Warrior 21, Chaos Dwarf 21, 55, 27, 41. That's still a lot, and that's pretty decent infantry as well. But now you're gonna reap what you sow. And when the Great Maw will thank you if you bring lead belchers. I mean, look at this. Corn would be proud. And I'm gonna friendly fire some of my Iron Guts here as well. This isn't best plays by Gojira 101, but it gets the job done, and I probably could have micro better to get these guys out of the way. We're still grinding out this fight with Fireblades. They're eventually going to lose, but they will probably take out a few ogres with them. So this blob is now having no other choice but to sit here. I mean, he could be sending goblins, but they wouldn't chase. I mean, they wouldn't catch the lead belchers. There's no way. You just have to kind of sit through this and hope you can kill these Iron Guts fast, which is not going to happen. I mean, Infernal Guard are good, but Iron Guts have a shit ton of health and defense skills, so there's not really any hope of getting those guys done, especially when all your support units are starting to rout. Some Narblaus came back, doesn't really matter. You know, game's almost pretty much over. It's pretty much a GG. These Iron Guts are fighting it out. So what happened in this battle, pretty much? Well, what happened is there was no answer to these lead belchers. So basically he let them roam free. And you can't let lead belchers roam free when they have this much punching power, because if you do, even if my infantry was shittier and I was doing way worse with my Iron Guts, I could still just cream your army, because I can just sit there, hold them in place, and then, oh, if you're not going to do anything about these lead belchers, you know, I'm just going to shoot you. I'm just going to shoot you in your face with a cannonball. So you gotta, when you're playing ogres, playing against ogres, you gotta come prepared to deal with lead belchers, even if they don't bring lead belchers. And that'd be odd if they don't bring lead belchers, but I know some people who get crashed by them and such and such. So always be prepared, though. Always be prepared. And likewise, when you're playing as ogres, you got to be ready to micro your lead belchers well, because if he had brought Cav, I would have had to been moving around a lot more, using my Nobblers way more effectively than I did in that battle. I'd have to send him in Cav charges and send, you know, probably Iron Guts into Cav charges. He just emits there. It's clearly GG. I mean, there's three principal things that kill lead belchers especially, and ogres in general, and that is Cav, heavy Cav, and cycle charging. And it is tricky, because if an ogre player knows what he's doing, he can countercharge, and their mass is about the same as a horse's mass, so sometimes they'll get thrown up in the air and get, you know, the full charge dealt to them by the Cav, and sometimes they'll just roll right past it and just crush the Cav. So it's very dicey when you're doing that, but if you have them tied down, you can get some pretty nice shots, pretty nice rear shots with a Cav in there. What else you can do is bring gunpowder, like Console did, but you have to focus it down on these guys, because these guys will rout, because they have their morale's pretty low, but also I think beasts, and they're technically elephants, rout easier from gunpowder, so they will rout pretty fast from like continued gunfire, especially, you know, flaming gunfire from the Infernal Guard or blunderbusses, and they will kill them fast. Like Jazale's Streltsky handgunners kill lead belchers relatively fast, so you have to keep an eye out for them and what you're going to do against them. So it comes down, you know, an ogre matchup is pretty much how the person uses the lead belchers and how a person can counter lead belchers, and that will generally decide how the battle goes, because lead belchers are almost crucial. There's some scenarios where you can get away with them. Okay, so let's go over the kills real fast. Iron Guts Bodyguard 104, I believe that was the ones that fought with the Black Orcs and the Chaos Ogres, or Devil Friends. They did pretty well considering what they're up against. I mean, they got the counter charge, so that's probably where they got most of their kills in the slug out fight. They were outnumbered, and they only had Nobblers to support them, so they wouldn't get that that many kills. They also charged like an artillery unit later. So yeah, Iron Guts. These guys were charging. They were charging Dwarf Warriors, and then they charged that blob later on. So this is pretty quality kills right here. This is like Dwarf Warriors, Infernal Guard, some goblins probably, but usually pretty quality kills and a lot of them. Man Eaters. These guys pretty much got crushed, and they got stunlocked to death, which is a weakness. I mean, I could have cycle charged a bit more, done more. My micro is bad, but console did a great job of blobbing me up and just stunning me to death. Now it is a little sketchy blobbing up as much as he did, but that's generally the idea if you want to focus down a unit of ogres or 2 units of ogres, like he was focusing down ogres and man-eaters. The ogres got a charge into some infernal guard with fire glaives early in the battle, and then went into that blob. So they didn't do too well, but they did all right because they're the cheapest unit that I brought besides Nobblars. Well, no, Sabertusk cost 2,000, so they're the cheapest ogre unit that I brought. So they did all right. Ogre Leadbelchers, what didn't they kill? Really is the question. And I think they killed pretty much everything. I mean, because I think they shot at the artillery crew once too. I think they killed like every type of unit. Probably killed a few units single-handedly by themselves. It was just brutal. Like this shows you what certain units in this mod can do if you leave them unchecked. So yeah, middlemen. Unlocalized placement texts. The Ogre Hunters got a decent amount of kills, 141 and 177. Mostly on goblins, because they were shooting at goblins most of the time. Then they got a nice charge in on Fireglyphs, so they did pretty well for themselves. Nobblars, 58, pretty good for Nobblars. This is 5. This is more expected of Nobblars. This is what not you aim for, but what you kind of would be happy with. 5 kills, Nobblars, I mean, they're not meant to get kills. They're just meant to take charges to the face, hold things in place while you cycle charge with your ogres. This battle wasn't as symmetrical as that. It was kind of all over the place, but that's usually what you use them for. And soak up fire like they did. Nobblars 59. Again, pretty good for Nobblars. Sabertusks 73 and Nobblars 22. So that was the replay, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like what I was doing. If you don't, or if you do, let me know down in that comment section. And I'll come at you with another video at some point, guys. I don't know when that'll be. I can't give you a specific date, but I can tell you it will probably be Call of Warhammer again. So peace out, guys. Catch you later.